Our blog post has the full list of supplies used in this video. The link is in the description box below. We're going to start with a little bit of light pink fondant for the first flower. Just going to dab a bit of margarine onto my hands to make sure that the fondant doesn't stick to my gloves when I'm kneading the fondant. You want to make sure that you knead your fondant well so that it's nice and pliable when you roll it out. Need a bit more margarine. I think that should do. For this next step, you can use a floral foam pad if you have one handy. But if you don't, you can simply use your palm as well. I prefer doing that myself. Dust a bit of cornstarch onto your palm to prevent the flower from sticking to the glove. Using your ball tool, thin down the tips of the petals, making sure that they form a little bit of a ruffle. Round off the center of each petal. Do the same with the next size. Now, using a little bit of vodka, I'm going to stick the two flowers together. Just grab a brush, dab a little bit of vodka into the center of the larger flower. And stick the smaller flower onto the bigger one. You want to make sure that the petals of your smaller flower are in between the two larger petals of the bigger one. Press down in the center with your ball tool. This ensures that the two flowers are stuck well together. Do the same with the smallest flower. Place the center of the small flower into the dent that you formed with the ball tool earlier. Set this aside to dry and we'll fix the center on later. For the next flower, we're starting off with a little bit of light pink again. Next, we'll use a bit of lavender fondant. You don't need a lot, just a small piece to cover the pink fondant. Roll it out fairly thin. Dust off any excess cornstarch. Now we want to stick the two colors together. So using my brush and a little bit of vodka, I'm going to attach the two pieces of fondant. You don't want to use too much of vodka or it will cause the two colors to slip. Place the lavender fondant onto the pink, smooth out any air bubbles that may be caught in between the two layers. And using your rolling pin, very lightly roll back and forth. Dust your star cutter with a bit of cornstarch. Press down. Now dab a little bit of vodka in the center of each of the 5 star tips. You're going to, using a petal tool, you're going to fold the tip of each star and stick it to the center of the one next to it. Press down with your petal tool to make sure that it's stuck well, and overlap the next tip so that it covers the tip of the previous one. For the last tip, fold it underneath the first one that you stuck. Press down with your petal tool to make sure that it's stuck well. Now we'll set this aside to dry and attach the center later. For these flowers, we're going to be using an embossing sheet. We can either use a bit of cornstarch dusted onto this to make sure that it doesn't stick to the fondant, but I'm going to use a bit of pearl dust, which does two things. It makes sure that the embossing sheet doesn't stick to the fondant, and it also gives the fondant a bit of a pearl gloss. Place the embossing sheet onto the fondant and press down firmly. Using your rolling pin, roll across firmly, making sure that your embossing sheet doesn't move. To finish, use a fondant smoother and press down firmly again. Now peel away the embossing sheet from the fondant. Using your brush, dust away any excess pearl gloss. I'm just going to cut out a few flowers with the excess fondant. Invert your star so that the embossed design is on the bottom, and using a bit of vodka in the center. fold each tip towards the center, pressing down with your petal tool again. Using your ball tool, press down in the center. Do the same with the other one. We'll stick the center for these flowers. Using the ball tool, make a dent in the center of the small ones. This ensures that the sugar pearl we are going to attach will sit snugly in the center. Dab a bit of vodka in the center of each flower. Place a pearl in the center of each flower and press down on each pearl to make sure that it sticks well to the fondant. For the larger flowers, we'll use a purple pearl in the center and surround that with some tiny silver sprinkles. Use a tweezer to place them in the right spot and discard any extras. We follow the same process for the larger ones. A sugar pearl in the center, surrounded by some tiny purple ones. Press down with your finger to make sure that they're all stuck well. Follow the same procedure for all the other flowers. And there we are, all done. Subscribe for more fun videos.